Fellow advocates, we are back. And once again, I'm joined by my brother, man. We just had a good conversation, me and Tavieo Walters, man. We were just talking about our fathers, the father figures, just reminiscing, the good old days, man. Just talking about our dads, the great men that they were. We talked about respect. We talked about discipline. We talked about father figures as well. We talked about some of the men that we would basically see. In order to be a man, you have to see a man. We grew up around great men. We talked about some of our neighbors. And we kind of touched on a little bit the village concept.
Right.
We talked about the village concept. We talked about the men, and one of the things you mentioned, T-Dub, man, was how, some of those men that we grew up around, they would straighten us out, basically. Yeah. And like you say, they wasn't afraid to tell our parents, hey, I just have to tell your son that, he shouldn't be climbing over people's fences, or they right. shouldn't be doing this and shouldn't be doing that.
Right.
And that was a great thing about having those men. We respected them. Another thing about it is they was doing what they doing, and they was correcting our actions.
Right.
Because it was all about having order and restoring order.
Right.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the village concept then versus now. Not saying that it's right or wrong, I guess. It's different now.
Yeah, very different.
It's different now than it was before. So let's touch on that a little bit. What's your viewpoint on that, the village concept, then versus now?
Yeah, it's very different. Very different at this point. Obviously, we're older now. So let's kind of start with that. We're older now. So a lot of times, like I always like to say, people just don't like for you to tell them anything. Their attitude towards you is disrespectful. A lot of times, you do want to say something or correct whatever they're doing, they just don't allow you to do it. They're not trying to hear what you say. And that's not even necessarily parenting. That's just human being to human being. Hey, man, you shouldn't do this. Well, why are you telling me that? I'm telling you that because that's not the right thing to do. Or who are you to tell me? And this is my favorite thing since I got older, B. Oh, okay, old school. Okay, old school. You know what you're talking about, old school. So we're in different times right now. And the times that we're in, we have to be able to adjust.
Correct.
We were growing up, I wouldn't say it was, my way or the highway on everything, but it was kind of to a point where you understood the language, verbiage, you understand the position, you understood the control, the power, all that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you don't really have that. There's no structure at this point. So when you do say certain things, compared to how we were brought up to now, it's totally different. And it's mind-boggling. We grew up, B, a lot of times, I didn't even have to say too much when we're talking about father figures, man figures. I didn't have to say too much to Dad. Dad made a point, hey, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, you're going to procrastinate sometimes with, a female, somebody like that. You're a chance, right? You're a chance. But typically, the man, right, you're going to probably listen at some point. And in that village, that's what you want. That's what you need, actually. You need somebody with, like you said earlier, leadership, command in the room. That's one thing I can say about my dad. Whenever he stepped in the room, you knew he was in the room.
Yep.
Whenever my grandfather stepped in the room, you knew he was in the room. Whenever your grandfather stepped in the room, you knew they were in the room. That's where it starts at, right? And the village concept, to me, growing up was real simple. It was like, I'm going to follow whatever that man is doing, right? If that man is saying, hey, I need you to do this, don't give your mom no back talk or no back lip, you're not going to do that. That's just teaching respect. That's teaching how to look at things a certain way without even mom saying anything or your grandmother saying anything or your female cousin or your aunt. Or it's knowing, hey, I gotta have, like you said, have that leadership instilled in me. That's a leadership role. And the village itself, you got your mom, your dad, grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins. Some of us was fortunate to, have distant families. Maybe stayed in another city that we go to, and we have family reunions and stuff like that. But everybody respected everybody. Everybody knew everybody. You wasn't gonna get away with murder. Right. You know what I'm saying? You wasn't gonna get away with nothing. And if your dad had to, put something on you, it was okay for your grandparents to do. It was okay for, like we talked about earlier, the man across the street to say something. Well, he gonna talk to you first.
Right.
Before he put his hands on you. Yeah. Man, you can't do it. Like, you can't do it. You can try to talk to the young man or the young lady, but it's going through deaf ears. It's going through one ear and out the other. Yep. Back then, that village was strong. We celebrated. We did things. When it was time for, like I spoke about earlier, discipline part of it, oh yeah, you knew. You knew. You knew who was at the head of that line. Once it got to dad, oh, okay, yeah, it's serious now. It's real serious. Not saying it is not serious with your mom or grandmother or, if it's anybody else that raised you, your uncle or aunt that raised you. It was serious. But when it got to your dad, oh yeah. Or your grandfather, oh yeah. It was next level. It was next level. And having those 2 or 3 strong male figures leading the village, everybody followed. It's crazy to say this. Somebody told me this years ago. Might have been you. Remember right. You told me, I think, years ago. He said, years is still stuck to my head right now to this day. First, and everybody in that village learned how to follow. That's why we're able to do the things that we do by great leadership. Not good leadership, but great leadership. Yep. This day and age, man, the sad part that I can say about it, we got some years on us. We ain't gonna tell y'all our age, but we got some years on us right now. Yeah. Got a few grays and stuff like that. But it's crazy to say this, man. It's like the concept of the thinking of people right now is just, it's so far out there where they don't want you to, like I say, they don't want you to tell them anything. Yeah. Hey, man, look. One of my biggest pet peeves, somebody, wearing their pants sagging or, this concept where let me just wear my clothes this way or whatever. It's like, no, man, you can't be like that. I'm a man telling another man, you can't be like that. Yeah. Present yourself a certain way. Right. Look a certain way. Right. People will respect you. Yep. Right. The village that I grew up in, we sat there, we ironed our clothes. We was on a stay flow can mixing and spraying starch and ironing our clothes. So we can look and present good, because that presentation that you give, right, is the representation of the village that you come from. That's right. And that's where I'm at. You know what I mean? Yeah. Now, you can't even get nobody to really iron their clothes at this point. Yeah. Or present themselves in a certain way. Yeah, it looks good what you got on, but do the village approve? That's right. It's sagging, but that ain't a good look if you got a belt on. What's the purpose of having a belt on? Mm-hmm. That comes from the village. And when you wear your stuff, present yourself a certain way, with dignity, respect, it makes the whole village look good. The old folks used to say you was raised right, raised a certain way, right? And this age now, it's just a hard battle that we have to go through sometimes. That I think is very unnecessary. Yeah. We should have people that say, hey man, this is not what you need to do. We need to have you go this way. Do things, look at it a different light. Look at it, and I always keep that village concept as much as I can, rest of my life, job, people I'm around. I always say this, man. I'm gonna be around people that can always tell me about myself. Spoke on it earlier. You say one of the realest people you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you see it that way, I'm gonna always put myself around, tell me about it when I'm right, but correct me at all times. Feel like I'm doing something and I come to you about it and you say, hey, look, man, you might want to change your mindset, you might want to change your thinking. I can accept that. I have always been around people, especially coming from you, my brother.
Yes, sir.
You say, hey, T, that ain't right. That ain't okay. Look at it a different way. Look at it a different light. I'm gonna respect it more than probably anything else. We just have to change that concept and get back to the roots of it, the basis of it. Yes, it takes a village to raise a child, right?
Yeah.
But it takes that child to actually listen to the village. What you think about it?
It's as far as the village concept, and it's different aspects that we can touch on, man. And I feel like one of the main things the village is lacking now is the presence of men. And I look at it at least two ways.
Okay.
Number one, we have there are a lot of situations where we have these amazing single mothers.
Yeah.
We do. These women are amazing. They're doing what they need to do, take care of their business, and they're doing it without men in the household, without the presence of men. And it can definitely be a challenge when you're raising a young man, especially. You know, if you're raising a young woman, but especially when you're raising a young man, because as I mentioned before, in order to be a man, you have to see a man. Right. And a young man who's being raised by a single woman, they don't have many opportunities to see a man like we used to.
Right. They missing out.
Yeah, they missing out. And I'm going to go into that in just a moment. So it's not only the absence of a man in the household for a young man who's being raised by a single woman. Right. I feel like it kind of worked both ways too. The mentality of some of these men is different as well. Because I've heard this before, man. I've heard this before from uncles. I've heard it from other men, perhaps men around the neighborhood or whatever. They are afraid to speak up. They are afraid to restore order to these young men.
I heard that too.
Yeah.
I heard that too.
They might say something like, man, that young man, he acting up, he acting crazy. He got his pants sagging. He just don't look presentable. He look like he ain't up to no good. He doing this, whatever, pointing out.
He talking back to this lady over here, elderly lady or something like that.
Pointing out something negative, but yet you're not stepping in and correcting it. Again, I say it worked both ways because it's like we have that mentality, well, that young man is not going to listen to me anyway.
Right.
So why bother? Why bother with that young man? So it kind of worked both ways in a sense. It's unfortunate that the absence of a man in the household, it's unfortunate that whoever the father is, for whatever reason, they decide not to stick around for their young man. Now, there are some instances where a man might visit his father, a man might visit his son, whether he go to his single mother's house, baby mama's house rather, and go visit the son, or he go pick up the son and bring him with him to his house, or whatever the case may be. But I feel like that there's nothing better than actually being a constant presence in the household.
Right.
For one, so your young man can see you on a constant basis. And number two, they see what the relationship should be between a mother and a father.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So that's the way I see it as far as the village concept. It works both ways. It's different as well because I see it as we talked about how, we seen the man next door. We see the man, across the street. Nowadays, you don't see it as much because as I mentioned before, but I feel like another thing is we're starting to have more mentors now.
Yes, yes.
Whether it's in the community whether it's in the church,
sports
team coaches, youth coaches, that type stuff.
Right.
So fortunately, we have that. But a lot of times, a young man has to go a little bit out further to seek that.
Right.
Sometimes they have to pay for it too. Let's be real about it.
Yeah.
You gotta pay to be on the football team, basketball team.
Right.
The mentoring. I've done mentoring. I've done mentoring in the church, in the community,
right,
in the school districts.
Right.
So again, these young men have to go out further to seek that.
Yeah.
That's not just around the corner.
Right.
But
that's like the generation gap, though, right?
Right.
You know
that's one of the differences.
That's one of the differences. Like you say, you have a lot of young men growing up in single parent households,
right,
where the grandmother or aunt is raising them, and they're not seeing the image of a man. Like you said, you have to be able to see a man.
Right.
The little things that counts in that village is the small things that needs to be taught to that child at an early age.
Right.
We have a lot of individuals walking around here now that don't know how to wear clothes because that wasn't taught to them at a young age. We have a lot of young men around here that don't drive a vehicle because that wasn't taught to them at a young age. Not saying that a woman can't do those things, but the message will be received totally different from that father figure that's around every day. Hey son, this is how I go to work. Come on over here and let me show you how to drive. Come on over here and let me show you how to tie a tie. You'd be amazed if you did a tally of how many men that don't know how to tie a tie. It's astounding.
I wouldn't be surprised.
My dad didn't know how to tie a tie, and he was in the military. Amazing, right?
Yes, so.
But it took somebody on the outside to show me how to tie a tie. Another man, and I credit him to this day, came into work, had one of those good, nice ties, had already ironed it, looking good to go with my uniform, and didn't know how to tie the tie. Asked the man, hey, can you help me tie a tie? I said, you know how to tie a tie? I said, no. He said, let me show you how to do it. I'm going to tie, take it apart, and then I'm going to have you tie. So he did one aspect of tying the tie, showing me, and then he allowed me on the second aspect to do it myself. Mm. And just because I saw how he did it was easy for me to praise him.
That's simple.
That's the village. This man don't have nothing to do with anything. We don't have the same last name. We ain't first cousins, second cousins, third cousin. Someone that I ran across at one of my jobs. An older gentleman that wore ties every day to his job. It was the right person, right time to ask, can you help me tie a tie? Yeah. First day on the job, I had to wear a tie. First time wearing a real tie. See, we had clip-ons. Yeah. And the uniform had a clip-on at some point. We wore clip-ons to church. We wore clip-ons to that job interview. We wore clip-ons for the Easter suit. Yeah. Clip-ons. Yeah. Made it easy. One time I needed to have a real tie on. A man outside that village helped me do. And still know how to tie a tie to this day. Because of that. That's the villages that we're talking about. Yeah. It don't have to necessarily be internal all the time. Right. It can be external. Yeah. But those moments, like I said, those teaching moments, for me to be able to listen and for somebody to teach me and for me to be shown how to do it is priceless at this point. And that's just time to time. Mm-hmm. Right? Give you an example. We're talking about the village, right? Right. You get behind the wheel of a vehicle and you take off driving, right? You don't know everything in that car. That's why you have a co-pilot, and that's why you have passengers. Right? But look at it this way. You get in that car and don't know what you're doing, but it's people in the car that can tell you what to do and how to do it. And when that's the village we're talking about. Yep. But as soon as you get that information from the person that's next to you in that vehicle, guess what's going to end up happening? You're going to learn how to drive that car. Yeah. One way or another, you're going to learn how to drive. That's what we're talking about for us, the village.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to understand what somebody is telling you, willing to listen to what they're telling you. Don't be so critical about what they say. Okay, old school, you don't know what you're talking about. Don't be like that. No, don't be like that. Just understand at the end of the day, when somebody telling you something, it's an extended arm of the village.
Right.
And if they telling you something, it's all for the good. It's all for the good.
Mm-hmm.
Don't take it any kind of other way. Don't take it in a negative light. You know, you might be, maybe they see something in you that you don't see in yourself. And that's just being honest.
Right.
That man took the time out of his morning before his meeting and his coffee. We're talking about an executive that wears tires every single day to work. Said, hey, we having trouble with that tire? I said, man, can you help me tie that tire? Yeah, come on over here. I'm a tired. He wanted to see if I was paying attention. But me being in the field, I'm observing. I'm watching everything that he's doing.
Yeah.
He took that tire loose, gave it to me, showed me what you just saw. Got it. He said, oh, you got it now. He say, just do it a few more times until you get confident with it and get comfortable with it. You ain't gonna have no problems after that. And I still tie to the day. That's extended village. That's an extended arm in the village.
Right.
That allows you to be yourself. You're gonna be yourself at the end of the day, but it allows you to learn, to listen, to observe, to understand. Right? And if you have any questions, they're there to answer. That's what we need more of.
Right.
That's my point. We need more of that. Like you say, your other point, you said basically these men are afraid to step into that spotlight. I would take it even further than that. It's not necessarily that they're afraid or they just don't want to be involved or just don't want to say anything. I think what it is that we're numb to it. We're very numb to it, man.
Yes.
We already going into the situation saying, oh, why even waste my time? Why even say anything? You just never know. You might be the person to change that person's mindset. Yeah, because that's what it all comes down to, is the mindset. I had enough people in my village, you had enough people in your village. Now it's time for us to build our own village. I need to be able to tell you something constructively. You need to be able to accept the constructive criticism. You need to be able to accept when you're wrong, because I'm telling you that the men that are out there that feel like they can't talk to nobody, feel like it's no reason to say anything, maybe you the one that need to say it.
Yeah.
Think of it that way. There's a lot of young men I come across and they respect me, or they want to call me old school now. Y'all, they want to call me old school now.
That's just,
but they respect it.
Yeah.
Like he said earlier, I'm probably one of the realest people in life that he knows. And know to this point, I'm going to always speak my mind. I'm going to tell you what it is. And I ain't going to bite my tongue. If you're wrong, you're wrong. If you're right, you're right.
100%.
It's instilled in me. It's instilled in you. But the other men that's out there, we need to encourage them a little bit more. If you see something, say something.
Right.
You think that this young man is being disrespectful to his mom or grandmother or even a teacher, say something. Hey, young man, I know you're mad about your grade. You made an F or whatever, but let's talk about it. You might even got a B and wanted an A and just upset about it. And you took it out on the teacher. It ain't the teacher's fault. Let me talk to you for a little sec. Let's have this conversation. First of all, you don't disrespect a woman. Let's start with that. Where did you get that from? These are the teachings in the village that we always get. That's the purpose of the village. It's a safe haven. It's a safe haven to the problem at hand, to the things that's going on at hand. In order for us to correct what's going on at hand, we have to change the mindset. Right. That village is allowing us to come in and do those type of things. So we have to encourage that with all types of men, young men, older men. And this is another thing too, another point I just thought about. older men, be accepted to what a younger man is telling you. My dad used to tell me, you can learn from anybody. You can learn from anybody. Just because that young man is who he is, young, and you're an older man or older gentleman, or old school like they like to talk. Don't be so quick to judge. Don't be so quick to shoe off. A man might can teach you something. I ain't talking about the cell phone and the technology now. I ain't talking about that.
Yeah.
That young man might be the one that know how to teach you how to teach a tie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
See how those roles switch?
Yep.
Right? I might be the young man that's teaching the old school person how to teach tie or drive a car. Well, it works both ways. Those concepts in the village are instilled in all of us. We just have to accept it.
Right.
Got a question for you.
Yeah, what's up?
What do we do if we don't have it? No, right?
I say, I'm just being funny when I say it.
Okay.
Then we shall perish. But no, that's not the real answer.
Gotcha. I got you.
Village, if we don't have a village, I would say the thing we need to do is try our best to create a village. Mm-hmm. And that's the best answer I have, is to create a village, right? Take it upon yourself to... So I like what you said about how you can learn from anybody. That's a way, especially when it comes to a young man and an older man. That's a way to bridge the gap. That's a way to bridge the gap. So we have to the first thing we need to do is to create a village. Offer encouragement every chance you get. And I feel like that's what we can do. We can take it upon ourselves to raise up a young man. I was looking at something. I don't know if you're familiar with Derek Muhammad. He's a Muslim guy who he puts on. He's a mentor basically. Okay. He has mentees. He has a great mentoring program. Okay. And it was something he said, basically to answer your question. What if we do if we don't have a village? We can create a village. And it was something he said that really just kind of resonated with me. He was saying that as men, kind of like what I'm saying, as men, we need to be intentional about guiding these young men, especially out there in the community and the church and that type stuff.
Gotcha.
And of course with our sons and this and that or whatever. Right. But we need to take it upon ourselves to create a village. He used, for example, if you a man and you got some time on your hands, let's say you retired or something like that, and if you got some time on your hands and you happen to come across some young men who, or they're just out there in the community, out there in the streets, they might be being raised by a single mother or whatever the case may be. Right. Take it upon yourself, like, let's say you take 2 or 3 of those young men. If y'all, take them fishing or something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, take them fishing or get with their mothers and be like, hey, I want to take your son to the movies or something.
And that's the intentional that you were saying.
Right. Yeah. Being intentional. Yeah. You're free to come, because you know how it can be sometimes, single moms, right. they may not trust just any man to come in and do this. And I understand that, because we in those times. Yeah. You never know. That's a whole nother problem right there.
Right.
But, just offer it. Say, hey, I want to take your son to the movies. We're going to go with 2 of his friends or whatever. Right. You free to come. Right. If you want to come in and sit with us or whatever, that's fine.
Give him a different look.
Yeah. Yeah, give them a different look. Take it upon yourself to encourage these young men. And I feel like that's a way, if a young man is not surrounded by a village, or like, for us, for example, surround yourself, create a village. You can, create a village with a young man. Like you say, we learn from these elders as well. Connect with men who are older than us. Be intentional in doing that. We can always learn something. We can learn both ways. Because I do believe you can learn from a young man as well. And something that you mentioned about tying ties, it's something about a man who can tie a tie.
Yeah. That's just being honest.
Yeah. And my story, as far as like the first time I learned about tying my own tie, was later on in life as well with you. Actually, I didn't learn how to tie a tie until I was among mentees because, and I was helping out a mentoring group within the church, and the guy that I was helping out, the lesson at that time was we gonna tie a tie. I didn't know how to tie a tie at that time, so I'm watching him, and I'm trying to tie the tie. Kind of like your situation where the guy he showed you one time, and then you did it on your own.
Yeah.
I didn't quite get it, right? So when he first showed us, I didn't quite get it. It was a young man, one of the mentees. He saw I was having trouble. He was like, "Let me help you with that, sir." I'm like, "All right, yeah, help me out." And he taught me how to tie the tie.
There you go.
So,
Yeah.
again, you can learn from anybody. You can learn from a young man, Again, surrounding yourself with other men.
Right.
That's a way to create a village if you are lacking that.
Yeah.
That's the way I see it.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And I feel like another thing that's missing as far as like the village concept is everyone that's involved is not on one accord.
Yeah.
See, back then, we was all on one accord, and we mentioned that before, how we can be corrected.
Yeah.
And we can be disciplined by someone besides our mom and our dad. And I got a funny story, man. So we talked about Papa Les, one of the men that was in our neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
And I was in the wrong. I was at his house, right? And I was playing with his grandsons. And I was playing so much, I broke one of the lamps in the house. Yeah. So I ran home. Papa Les stayed next door to me. So I ran home. And, I went in the house like nothing was wrong. And my grandfather was like, "I thought you was over Papa Les' house." I'm like, yeah, but I came home or whatever. And next thing you know, Papa Les knocked on the door. And Papa Les was like, "Well, Boo Bear," Boo, my nickname. He's like, "Well, Boo Bear." My grandfather, he was like, "Oh, he in there." He was, and Papa Les told him what happened. So this is another thing that's missing. Usually when I mention that, we're not on one accord, if it's like some of the parents now, not all of them, but some of the parents now, they might be like, "Okay, I'll take care of it. Don't even worry about it. Go back home." And they may not even address it.
Right.
It was different. Like I said, I went home, act like nothing happened. Papa Les told my grandfather what was going on. My grandfather was like, "Reginald, go over there. Papa Les said he need to talk to you." Papa Les brought me back to the house, whooped my behind.
Oh yeah.
Whooped my behind.
Oh yeah. Lesson learned.
Yeah, lesson learned.
Lesson learned.
And I love and respected Papa Les ever since, man.
Right.
I really did, because that was his way of correct. Yeah.
Teaching moment.
Teaching moment. It was a teaching moment.
Teaching moment.
But that's another thing I feel like that's what's lacking from the village concept. Everybody is not on one accord. And I feel like that, to me, is one of the simplest ways to fix that concept.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody on one accord. It's like you got, whether it's a single mom, let's use that for example.
Okay.
Single mom, she got the young man, even young lady in the household. Then you got the dad who living out on his own, or whatever the case may be.
Whatever the circumstance.
Yeah. They may have a difference of opinion in raising their children.
Correct.
They not on one accord. The mom might have one way of raising, and vice versa. The dad might have another way. So that in itself is a problem as well.
Yeah.
But again, that's because of the lack of the presence of the father. If he's in that household,
it's not up for debate.
Yeah, it's easier to be on one accord.
Yeah, it's not up for debate.
Yeah, it's not up for debate. It's easy to be, and even with like outsiders, mom, dad might send their child somewhere. It can be the school.
Yeah.
There's a lack of discipline in school nowadays because it's like, for one, the parents don't want their children disciplined in school a lot of times. Yeah. So everybody's not on one accord.
We were totally different.
Yeah, we were totally different back then.
We had the Board of Education.
Yep. The real Board of Education.
Anybody, look at me. This is the thing. Anybody that know what I'm talking about, the Board of Education, if you know what I'm talking about, we ain't got to bring up the details.
Mm-hmm.
The Board of Education, that was serious back in the day. Yeah, we had that in elementary.
Yep. They called it, well, was it corporal punishment? Is that what it was called?
Yeah, I think that's what they wanted to call it.
Yeah.
But
I could be wrong. But I thought that's what it was.
Yeah, that's probably what it was called or whatever. But I know you said the Board of Education, and you got to go to the principal's office.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you probably gonna come home and have to deal with either, in my case, I went straight from out of elementary. When I got out, straight to my grandparents' house. 9 times out of 10, my grandmother's gonna be at that house.
Yeah.
1 time out of 10, my grandfather's gonna be at that house. Because the house was like right down the street from the school. They didn't call either one of the two that I just mentioned. Let them know that I had the Board of Education. This is why I got in trouble. And when I got there, it wasn't no conversation. Wasn't nothing else to talk about. Real simple. You did what you did, we're gonna punish you for, or you're gonna have to deal with these SWATs. Yeah. Either one of the two. You don't have that. See how strong that village is?
Yeah.
You got it at school, but your grandparents got it on the second part of it.
Yep.
But then on the third part of it, my mom and my dad had to still come home and pick me up. So now the message is with grandparents telling my parents what happened. So most of the time, that issue that you had in school, you ain't gonna have that issue no more.
Right. Sure.
That's the village. Then it got to the point where the teacher could say something to me, I don't act up no more.
Yep.
They instilled a fear in you at the time when you messing up, acting up, and discipline to a point where, okay, don't make me have to call your mama. Don't make me have to call your grandfather. Don't make me have to. That's the thing that's lacking.
Yep. That
fear that you put into that child. And it's male or female. You have to put a certain fear in them to let them understand, hey, you're doing wrong. We have to correct it. You have to be able to deal with your consequences for your actions. And like we were saying earlier, the older gentlemen that's out here that feel like you can't talk to the young generation or the young guys or whatever, and you feel like they're going to disrespect you, that's fine if they disrespect you. No big deal.
Yeah.
No big deal. Words is just words.
Right.
But the actions mean more than that. You got to be, hey, young man, I know you cursed me out or you disrespect me or you said this to the teacher. You need to be able to have a calm energy. Right. Calm energy.
Right.
Not aggressive, just a calm energy to bring them in. Hey, man, look, this is what's going on. You shouldn't have did this. Why did you do this? Such and such. But at the end of the day, you have to realize that extended arm that you're putting out there is part of the village. And that's what we're trying to get everybody to understand in this situation. You can't have certain things that happen and not correct it, but you have to correct it in the right way. You know, that village is extended a certain way, and everybody's going to follow the leadership, the leader role. Like you say, create your own, you know, be a mentor, bring certain people in when you feel like they need the teachings and the learnings. But we have to go to the basis of it. Right, we have to start from like I call it a gumbo pot. You know, you have to cook it a certain way for people to eat it. You can't just put anything in the gumbo pot and just let it cook. Who gonna eat that? I want to know what you got in that gumbo pot. What kind of roux you use?
Yeah.
You know, how long it took you to cook that rice? Did you clean that rice? These are extensions of the village.
Right.
These are things that correlate in a certain way that when you teaching somebody something, showing them something, they listening to what's going on, it's going to always work. We were raised different in different times. We just have to move with the times that we're raised in right now.
Right.
That's all it is.
Yeah. We just gotta have a different approach.
Different approach. Change the mindset. Change the mindset.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Village concept, man, it's definitely different now than it was before. For sure.
Yeah.
Once again, I'm Reggie B here with my brother TW, man. We got so much to talk about. So we will be right back.